Hi guys, I'm Brian Latimer, FLW Tour Pro here, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Mann's Jelly Waggler, the 12-inch worm. This is a bait that I think perhaps is underrated, goes under the radar. I see a lot of different applications for it. This year on the tour schedule, we're going to have 2 ledge events, and also we're going to Florida, and those are 3 places I really think this bait is going to play a big factor in my arsenal there. I'll show you a couple of different ways that I'm rigging the bait this year and how I plan to use it. And a couple of them are, I think, perhaps a little unusual, not very typical. In Florida, there's a lot of grass. We've got a lot of hydrilla. We've got a lot of tules, reeds, things like that. And of course, everybody knows how to Texas rig it and throw it on a Carolina rig. That's pretty much a go-to when you're rigging this bait. But I'm actually going to throw it weightless as well. I've got just a 8/0 owner hook here, and it also has just a bait keeper on the front of it. That just makes it a little bit more weedless when I'm bringing it through the grass. But I'm just going to throw it weightless. Just throw it out and reel it just like I would a swim bait or something like that. Reel it back. I like the big profile, and I like the water that it moves with the big tail on it. I think that's going to be a great bait to use there. Weightless, and I'll probably flip it around too. They like big baits in Florida, and that's one thing that's great about the Jelly Waggler. It's a really big bait, and post-spawn fish, sometimes even pre-spawn fish, but in particular post-spawn fish like big baits. Big bass like big baits, and that's one thing that's really good about this bait. When we get to the ledge events, I'm definitely going to be throwing this bait a lot there. When we get to Kentucky and Pickwick, I've got it rigged here on a hard head or swing head, whichever you want to call it. And you can throw it on a Texas rig, that's okay. One thing I like about throwing it on the hard head, it hangs a little less. This bait in particular has sort of football shaped weight on it, so I can bring it through rocks when I can just basically just cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and just slow reel it back to the bait. I'm just keeping it in contact with the bottom. Since it's compact and the head is connected, that makes it a little easier to keep in contact with the bottom. So that's one reason I use this over a Texas rig. The other way that I use it is I actually use it as a wacky rig. This is going to be a 12-inch wacky rig. One of the little tweaks that I do is I take the curl tail, pinch it off, and so it's not 12 inches anymore. It's probably more like a 10.5, 10.5 inch worm, but this is going to be a killer, I think, on Pickwick and Kentucky. So basically what I've got is a really large stick bait. I like having the big profile, having something that moves a lot of water. But what I'm using is just a 1/0 rebarb hook. I'm also taking a little piece of electrical shrink wrap tubing. I don't know if you can see it there. And that reinforces the plastic. This is a big hunk of plastic. It's kind of heavy, so if I were just to rig it just normally, just hooking it through the middle, it would probably rip the plastic on a cast. But just using that electrical tubing reinforces the plastic. So I'm going to use that, probably put a little nail weight in the head. Mann's has a hard nose technology, which has a little bit stronger plastic in the head of the bait, so that'll hold my weight really well. So I'll throw that out, let it sink to the bottom. It's going to be really good when I'm fishing for fish that are suspended. I can let it go to the bottom, or I can fish it for suspended fish out on the ledges there. So those are a couple ways that I use it in addition to our normal Texas rig and Carolina rig. Try these. I think you're going to be impressed with the fish you catch.